Angela Davis checked me once in a class at San Francisco State. I say, Angela Davis, I'm trying to make a difference, but I'm tired. And she said, sit down, black man. So we're sitting down like face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, what the hell are you tired about? And I was like, what? She's like, dogs bit me, water cannons hit me, police fondled me while playing, they frisking and searching me, put me in jail, out on the street, FBI interrogation. She said, what the hell are you tired about? She said, black man, take a little break, regroup, and go about and do what you got to do. And I was like, oops, that's all you got to tell me.
Welcome to 365 Brothers, the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Robin Shine, and get ready for another episode where I introduce you to another amazing, interesting, intriguing, and inspiring African-American man from the United States. They come from a variety of professions, various parts of this nation, and all of them bring their wisdom. So, chill out, relax, and listen in. Make sure you follow us. We're on Instagram at 365 Brothers. Also, you can go to 365brothers.com/Linktree, LINKTREE, 365 Brothers /Linktree. You'll find links to all things 365 Brothers, as well as links to anything Robin Shine. Again, thank you, and let's listen in. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with a brother who is originally from Trinidad and Tobago, although he's now in his 50s and he's practically lived here longer than he did there. But who he is today started there for 14 years. He played professional cricket, and growing up, he had an uncle who was a general manager of both a television and a radio station. And I'm guessing that all that seeing things behind the scenes and getting to know it, it just, well, as he said, it was a natural environment for him. And so it's no surprise that what he's doing today is he is working in production. He actually works at Stanford's most modern and probably most expensive studio at the School of Engineering, where he produces educational programming. And at the studio, he is the studio operations manager, and he is a senior creative producer. And, you know, many of my longtime listeners know Stanford's my undergrad, and I'm just going to say, you have to be doing it to work in the School of Engineering and produce their videos. I'm just saying, you got to be top of your game. End of story. The person that we get to speak to today is Owen Modeste. Welcome, Owen.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Before we go on to the questions, is there anything you'd like to say to help the listeners get to know you better?
One of the things that I've hold dear to me is the mentoring and the upbringing of my dad, learning from his successes and his mistakes. And a quick thing that people may not know about me, I'm 53 years old. I have never tasted any form of alcoholic beverage, any kind, and I've never done any drugs or smoked anything. So not being from the Caribbean means you have to have puffed something. No, I haven't. So
that didn't even cross my mind. And at first when you were saying, I was like, okay, that is cool, but that's interesting. And then I realized, oh yeah, everybody says, hey, you smoked the gun. Yeah. I've seen it in person where people make those assumptions. And kudos to you. I am not going to say that I've not tasted alcohol. I probably tasted every kind of alcohol except some of the worst. And, but other than that, none of those real drugs. Nobody cares though. Nobody cares.
You made it. You made it over the bridge. You're good.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Owen, what is a favorite song or movie, either right now or all time?
It may be a song that most people have never heard of, but it's called Tribute to the Martyrs. It's by a group called Steel Pulse. The reason why that song is so dear to me, I was 14 years old, and this long dreadlock Rastafarian guy that I used to buy fruits from, he turned me on to this song. And what this song did, it told me about all the great leaders of the Black world and the Black community. It talked about Toussaint Louverture, Steve Biko, George Jackson. So that's how I really got exposed to understanding where I come from, what our history is, and how great a people we are and our legacy. If my favorite movie, Get Out. Every time I watch it, there's something new to learn and there's something new to perceive and understand. So Get Out is it for me.
Hold on. Okay, first of all, I am familiar with Still Pulse. I can't say that I know that song. Now, since I don't know it and the way you described it, I have to go and
it's
listen.
7 minutes long.
We're doing this interview late evening, so I'll listen to that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But Get Out. So I saw it twice, and you're right. There was something like the second time I watched it, I saw things, deeper meanings, you know what I'm saying? I was really impressed with the intellectual layering in that movie.
Yeah.
There's just so much. So I have to ask you, what's one that you can share with the audience in case there's someone who's never watched it, or they have, but maybe you're going to share something they didn't see?
I think what stood out for me the most is when he was plotting his escape, he was very decisive in taking out the enemy. You know, so many times we play around in life. We know what the enemy is, whether it's a person, whether it's a habit, whether it's a mindset. We know what the enemy is. Play around with the enemy. And in that situation, he was going for the jugular. I tend to see, like, that's a message to Black people especially. The society we live in, we know it doesn't favor us, but we have to have that instinct of dismissing situations that will affect us long term. We tend to let things drag on, sit in a room, don't say anything, meet opposition, let the passive aggressiveness take us over, make us angry, instead of just being calm, being direct, and execute what we have to do or have to say. And that's something that really stayed with me about that movie.
I'm glad I asked. What's a favorite moment from your childhood?
Spending time with my dad. So, you know, in today's world, they play video games. Kids play video games. Mine was watching cartoons. So I'd sit Saturday morning, I'll be watching cartoons, but he'd be off on weekends. So his projects around the house, whether he's going to do some gardening, whether he's going to do some plumbing, whether he's going to do some electrical work or whatever. My dad was like a jack of all trades. So my dad had a specific whistle. He'll go, shh. And once I hear that, it meant the television had to come off. The coloring book had to be put away, or whatever distraction I had going on, I had to follow him. And eventually that whistle became so profound that I didn't even have to feel upset about it. I was kind of happy to like turn off the television and go follow him because I would always learn something. So I'm a daddy's boy. I spent a lot of time with my dad, you know, so just working with my dad and doing things around the house, building furniture. Like we had a study room for all the kids to study, my two other sisters. And we built the desk for that study. That was like 40 years ago. My mom just threw it away like 5 years ago because it really got too old to keep in the house. It's stuff like that we did together that was like epic. Yeah.
I may be making too much of what you shared, but it sounds like he was a man's man in terms of being able to do all the kinds of different things that we traditionally associate with men around the home, repairing things or putting things together. Was that something that's true of him, would you say?
All the trades that my dad shared with me and the things that I could still do today, he had to do those things to survive because his mom was a servant for wealthy white people when he was growing up. His dad was nowhere in his life. So my dad basically grew himself up together with his granddad. So my dad had to figure things out from the time he was like 9 years old.
Okay.
So he'd be helping my grandpa in the sugarcane field because they still had sugarcane at the time. He'll go help his grandmother pick up cocoa and put it out to dry so she could sell coffee stuff. You know? So he had to do a lot of things to keep it going. Yeah, he was a man's man and he was a disciplinarian. My dad was really tough on me, but the toughness was to kind of mold me and make me into the man I should be. Yeah.
He was a responsible man, and being a responsible man meant learning quite a lot, which he then in turn passed on to you. And the fact that he was a disciplinarian, I love the story of that whistle, especially that later in life, it got to be a warm thing, like, oh, all right, yeah, daddy. It says a lot about why you would reach that level of success in video production. Let's talk about accomplishments. Clearly, you have them. So I asked this question for two very specific ones. First, an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, and then an accomplishment that when others hear it, it's the one that gets the or wow. So let's start with the first. Which accomplishment means the most to you personally?
I think just being where I am right now. I came to this country with a suitcase. The situation I thought I was going to meet did not pan out. I ended up homeless. It was a real eye-opening experience for me. I came from Trinidad. I had an okay job. It was dangerous, playing cricket, working in a steel plant. And then coming here and having the rug pulled out from under me was really eye-opening. I had to, as they say, man up. I had some days where I didn't have much to eat. Some days where I had one shoe. And trying to go to City College of San Francisco and trying to take classes on a hungry stomach. It was tough. But just going through all those steps, I worked construction. I remember working construction for a countryman of mine in San Francisco. And the owner of the building we're working on decided not to pay us for 2 weeks. So I'm working for 2 weeks and no pay in the middle of winter in San Francisco. It's cold. So just those experiences were like eye-opening, like, bro, you got to figure this out. So one thing I did was every job I did, I kept going to school. I would chip away. 1 quarter work may be really strenuous. I would do 2 classes or 1 class. I kept chipping away. I remember working in the auto plant, and the guys on my team would come and play dominoes at the table next to me while I was doing my homework. And they would slam the dominoes down and they'll say, take that for the guy who's trying to study to be a doctor. You want to be a lawyer? What are you trying to be? And they're making fun of me.
Right. I already know that whole conversation.
Trying to distract me from doing my homework. So I used to get on a forklift. I would drive to the back of the building, get a flashlight out, and I would read my homework for the next day. You have to do what you have to do. People are going to get in your way. Some people are going to help you. Some people are going to try to detract from what you're doing. But you have to stay the course. And that's what I'm most appreciative about my life about, that God has given me the fortitude. I'm someone of faith. I believe in God and I pray a lot. And that has just kept me on course. That is something that stays with me. Something that I'm really excited to have done or accomplished. I think working in television media, I worked for CBS San Francisco for like 12 years. And this was while I was going to school also. I would go to school, go work as an intern. Then eventually I became a casual weekend employee.
Okay.
And I worked 6 NBA finals with the Warriors. I worked some of the Giants World Series when the Giants won their run. I've worked with CBS covering the NFL, and I've interviewed most of the top athletes in all those sporting disciplines. And one thing I learned is that they're just regular people. I can remember interviewing Serena. I could remember interviewing Steph Curry. I could remember interviewing Luke Walton. One of my favorite guys on the 49ers, I really love him, Frank Gore. The running back, he is such a genuine and nice, loving guy. I remember him, Vernon Davis. So those experiences were like, I'm a little guy from Trinidad. I used to watch the games on black and white TV back in the day when Magic and they were playing. I come to the United States now and I'm on the floor. I have a mic in my hand. I'm in the locker room. I'm in the press box. I'm like, what? So that's kind of like something that really, really made me like say, well, wow, I did this. It felt good.
Very impressive. Now, I have to ask for clarification, because when you say interview, were you ever on camera as well?
because I was not unionized, I was a casual employee, so I couldn't be on cameras, but many times I ended up on camera, especially like in the NBA finals in the press room. When you ask a question, they'll train the camera on you. So I'd be on TV basically.
Do you think that in addition to your familiarity with working in entertainment because of, your uncle and being a general manager of 2 stations, radio and TV, but I was wondering if you're being a professional athlete in your own right, do you think that made it any easier for you to interact with these athletic celebrities?
It definitely did, because I understood that they wanted to talk about the game. So many times we look at sports and they turn it into a drama series and a fiasco. These guys really just want to talk about the game. And nobody asks them. So when I would give them the questions, it would be like so refreshing to them. Like, this guy actually knows my stats. He's calling out all my stats. He knows what happened, how many rebounds I had. This guy was actually paying attention. He's just not here to like find out how many kids I have or did I drive my kid to school in the morning. No, he's talking about the game. And I remember once I was in the locker room when the Cleveland Cavaliers won against the Warriors. And I'm in the locker room and they're spraying champagne all over the place. And I go to ask Kyrie Irving a question. And this lady from a foreign media just bullied past me. And she put the mic in his face and she asked him, "How did you feel you played tonight?" And he looked at her and he's like, "Ma'am, you didn't watch the game? Why you asking me what you're supposed to look at?" Next. And then I asked my question. I was like, there you go. There you go.
What I love that you just reminded me, and probably some of my listeners, is that these athletes have worked so hard to perform the way they do. And you're absolutely right. What our society focuses on is, so, we heard this is happening. We heard you're doing this. We hear you're beefing with this person. We hear your wife is this. And, and you're just reminding me, and I'm expanding it beyond just athletes and celebrities, but just all the people that we admire so much in these high positions, even politicians. We're focused on all of this and no one's asking this thing that you dedicated your life to. You want to talk about that?
I have a cool story. So I'm working for HBO as a contractor, right? So I'm working on a movie set, and it's Clive Owen and Nicole Kidman. I'm working, and these older people, it was in Chinatown, San Francisco. These older people are just randomly coming and touching her hair.
Oh, she gets that too? No,
On set. They will walk through the set in Chinatown, and they're just, so she started like, who are these people? She started getting scared. She's like, "Owen, while you're working on audio, you're going to be my bodyguard. Don't let anybody touch me." And after that time, we became friends on the set. So her husband at the time, Keith Urban, he's still her husband here, he brought her little daughter, to visit her on set. And she wanted to eat something, so she hands me her daughter. And I'm holding her baby now, and she's eating, and I'm like, okay. And one of the things I realized is she realized I looked at her as a human being.
Right.
And that is what we need to understand. I mean, social media has gotten so skewed where every time we see somebody on a video who's a celebrity or something, we either try to mimic them, we worship them, we think they're different from us. These people are regular people.
It's a good message for all of us, for the people we worship and the people in our lives that for us, they're just a role. And I have to say, I know I'm guilty of that. There are certain people I work with and I really relate to them like their title or their job and not as the person. And what about the accomplishment that gets the wow or oomph from others? Let's talk about words. What's a favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book, and why?
Life is good. I say that no matter how my day is going. Life is good. I've traveled all over the world. I've worked on documentaries in Cambodia, Laos, in Thailand, Japan. And I've seen people live in squalor and people suffer and struggle. 14-year-olds going to the sneaker factory and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I complaining about? Like, life is good. Even when it gets really dark, life is good.
Yeah.
The book that I read recently and I really love is by Epstein. It's called Range.
What's that about?
So what he's talking about is, as we grow up in life, we train our kids or ourselves basically to live in a happy environment, a good environment. And his prognosis is that we should live in a wicked environment.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Meaning that things around us should always be changing. Things around us should always be evolving, keeping us.
Okay, I must have heard the wrong word because I thought I heard wicked.
And that's what he said. He called it wicked. Because as human beings, we like to live in a comfort zone. We like to live in a comfort zone. And you don't get the max out of your life in a comfort zone. Yeah. He talked about specialization too. We live in a society where we specialize. We go to school, we learn one thing, we do that, we move all the way through life. Right? You can't say that now because you're taking on this podcast. That's a whole different realm, right?
Yeah. So
now you're in a wicked environment because you don't know anything about this. You learned it and you're growing in it.
Yeah.
So that's what he's trying to say. Don't just specialize in something. Be a generalist. So even though you went to school to be a doctor, he talks about being a generalist. He said those people are the most successful. They build the best relationships and they're the most productive and best people to work with.
I know what he's talking about. I do. I love to be comfortable. And I also love to challenge myself. So it's a little bit of both. When, just reading about different people, stars and just, they could be historic figures, unnecessary celebrities. But so often they would be known for something amazing. And then you'd read about them and they were good at 5 or 6 different things. Yep. It was so common. And I was like, okay, so that's the thing. What is that in your life? What are some of the ways that you are, beyond your professional life where I know you're very active in the church. I know you also help produce Dr. Donna's show and some of the video work for True Vine Ministries. But is there something that you're currently engaged in that's wicked?
I am working on writing my understandings and writing my thoughts out and to become an active blogger or whether I do an opinion piece on newspapers or whatever. But I want to start writing my thoughts and my interpretations of things a little better. I'll give you a quick example, right?
Please.
When Kevin Durant came to the Warriors, everybody said, oh, he came to win rings. I thought it was a business decision. All right, Nike just paid him a very large contract. Wasn't going to lose salary money.
Yes.
But think about this. At the time when Nike sent him to the Warriors, Nike just renewed the uniform deal with the NBA. But the number one sneaker in the league was Steph Curry's sneaker, Under Armour.
Oh, really?
Right. The minute Kevin Durant came to the Warriors, his sneakers went from $88 to $144.
Wow.
He even went on a podcast and talked mess about Steph Curry sneakers, had to apologize to him after. Now, Under Armour is nowhere to be seen. What? He basically came to the Warriors. He killed off Nike's threat. Remember when Steph Curry sneakers with I can do all things blowing up?
Yeah, I do. I remember those.
The KD sneakers basically destroyed the Under Armour trend.
Wow.
Because how stupid would it look? You have the uniform deal.
Yeah.
But you don't have
the sneaker deal.
And sneaker in the commodity of basketball.
Yeah, that's the
most important thing. That's the biggest sell.
Hello, Jordan, still around.
Right. So that's how I kind of think outside the box when I see certain things go down.
I like it. I love it.
And I think in that way. And I have a friend, He's a professor at UCLA. He's one of the youngest professors they've ever made, given tenureship. Shout out to my boy Henry Burton. And he's always talking to me and he's like, dude, you have to start writing your thoughts, your interpretations, your understanding of politics, world. I'm always like looking at policy, government policy, politics. I'm always in tune to world news and what's happening.
Yes.
I'm on Al Jazeera every night, BBC, because I want to know what makes the world turn. It's not the fact that I let it overwhelm me, but I'm fascinated by how the world works. Like Venezuela was America's arch nemesis for like a little period before. Now they need oil from Venezuela because things not going good in Russia. So all of a sudden now Venezuela is on good standing.
You know what? Funny because it wasn't like a conscious thing, but I remember it's like Venezuela was like the bad boy, you know, Chavez. And I did notice as soon as Chavez was out that they stopped being so, you know, negative. They stopped, you know.
So you know what the story of Chavez is?
No.
All right, so it goes really deep.
Okay.
Bush was president at the time. I'll cut it really quick. Exxon and other oil companies were making a 70-30 profit.
Oh, right. Chavez wanted to.
Chavez said, no, 51-49. At that time, they were making 1,600% profit. At what Chavez did, they would make like 800% profit. Bush pulled them out. And then when they realized, we still need the oil, he sent them back. And they're still there today.
Yeah.
So not everything you see in the news and how they paint the image of a country or someone is
truth. Let's move into some experiences. So what is a moment, conversation, or an event that either changed the trajectory of your life or had a significant impact on your life?
I think during the George Floyd protests, it was 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wrote this little brief about how I feel as a Black man in the United States and how I feel about the injustices done. And I sent it to my organization, to the group chat. I wrote about my experiences on Stanford's campus and different racial experiences I had. And my organization spent $250,000, brought in a DEI coach, an organization out of New York, and basically ran a whole program based on that letter.
Wow.
I ended up joining the university's pilot program for IDEAL, for DEI training. So I was in the pilot group to devise a training scheme for the employees and the staff.
Wow.
We have to put ourselves out there to make a change. We have to fight for the kids coming up behind us as Black folks. We have to fight. We sit down in rooms, we stay quiet. Sometimes we never know the change we could bring. And we always don't like the risk. You know, I don't want to make people look at me different on my job. I don't want them to think I'm the angry Black man. No, you're the Black man seeking justice. Like, that's okay. That to me is like, you know, there's a lot of things in my life, but stepping out and stepping up and doing that to me was like life-changing for me because it taught me something. Nothing comes without sacrifice.
How long after you hit sin did you regret it?
Didn't regret it.
At all.
Didn't regret it.
Wow. Can I just tell you, to be personal like that, that's why as soon as you said it, I went, you did? And I think most people would be like, really? It's one thing to share it with the people you work with. You know what I'm saying? Like one-on-one as colleagues or send an email to my friends, but to send it to the organization, it's so vulnerable. But it's funny because in the way that you say it, it actually has vulnerable sound quite powerful. And I really appreciate your emphasis on the fight. You know, just a couple weeks ago, we were celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So many kids today, it's not the same meaning for them because they didn't grow up in that. And it's almost as if we're being so lulled by kind of getting back to the book, The Range that you mentioned, but we're getting so comfortable and almost like drugged into our dopamine fix of social media posts. And did you like it? Did you like it? Do you like me? Did you like it? Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say that no one's fighting, because clearly there are, and there always have been, and there always will be people who are pushing the boundaries on the rights that we enjoy as human beings. But I appreciate you also pointing to the fact that a lot of us are very comfortable, and we're preferring our comfort over ensuring that the next generation enjoy no less than the rights we have now.
When I came to this country and I was in college, I made a concerted effort to take African American studies classes. I took over 30 units of just African American studies because I saw African Americans on TV growing up. When I came here, I realized that's a lie. So I learned about the struggles, because Trinidad and the United States are different slavery abolition history.
Yeah.
I had to really learn, redlining, learn about what affirmative action really means. You had to learn Jim Crow. I had to learn. And so many immigrants, Black immigrants, come to the United States and they just take what they learned off the television and then they start dogging down on our Black brothers and sisters in the United States. I want to let you know it's not because they dislike African Americans, it's because they're ignorant of the struggle. So they take what they hear on the television, they take what they see in the news, they look at The Wire or they look at the Boys on the Hood, think, well, yeah, that's what we come into. I wanted to purge that out of my system and really learn who are African American people.
What I hear you saying is, wherever they're from, whether it's one of our Caribbean islands or wherever in the diaspora, or even from the homeland, that immigrants, regardless of their race, they all have that same impression. Because we know that immigrants from Europe, we're not surprised if they're judging us, meaning Native African Americans, from what they saw on TV. It's not that we like it, but we're not as surprised. And somehow we think that others in other parts of the African diaspora, that somehow they automatically know this struggle, and they do not. Yeah, that's an important thing to put in.
Angela Davis checked me once in a class at San Francisco State. She came to the class. I said I was mentoring kids at the time, and I kept going to court for them and having to testify that I'll be there to help them or whatever. And it just started putting a strain on me. I got tired. And I walked up to her and I say, Angela Davis, I'm trying to make a difference, but I'm tired. And she said, sit down, Black man. So we're sitting down like face to face. And she said, what the hell are you tired about? And I was like, what? She's like, dogs bit me, water cannons hit me, police fondled me while playing, they frisking and searching me, put me in jail, out on the street, FBI interrogation. She said, what the hell are you tired about? She said, Black man, take a little break, regroup, and go about and do what you got to do. And I was like, oops. I was like, that's all you got to tell me. We got to keep pushing. We can't stop. Yeah, can't stop.
All right. All these good stories. Okay. You've touched on this in so much of what you've shared already, but still, what is a moment or event that signifies your experience as a Black man in the United States?
I think coming to the terms with why my people in America, in the United States, and I mean my people, I mean Black people, why we have so many problems and so many issues, and seeing the recentness of slavery and of Jim Crow. I mean, it's a daily thing that weighs on me with how recent this struggle is. So many people try to put it as like it's in the history books, but laws and policies are still being removed that existed from then. Just walking on this land is like, whoa, like there is some struggle, there is some pain, there is some trauma, and you can't ignore it. I think that's why, as Black people, we distract ourselves with luxury items and shopping sprees and just frivolous things to kind of feed our emotion and stimulate our mind.
Yes.
These things have no soul. They have no core. They have no emotional value, spiritual value, but yet still we cling to it. You know, our consumerism is like off the charts. And I think all that is based on the suffering we've been through. And that is the thing that I walk around thinking, how could we solve this? How could we solve this? How? I go to Cambodia and I see them make the sneakers for $18 and sell it here for $150. And I was like, what are we doing? And the glue is giving people cancer. They're giving them something called yaba in Cambodia, caffeine mixed with methamphetamine so they could work all day in the factory.
Oh my.
Like, what are we doing? It's just that I mean, it's kind of sad what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I like to face the reality.
And I think you're right. And I never really connected that, I guess is really why I'm like, oh, yeah, with the consumerism. Like I totally connected it with drugs and alcohol. That's a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to self-medicate.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought of, our excessive consumerism as a form of self-medicating,
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you better write your stuff. You need to have a blog, okay? I'm on the blog. I'm on the Owen blog bandwagon now. So I want to ask you about your experiences with law enforcement. And I ask all the brothers this question because this podcast was, created after the murder of George Floyd and my desire to hear about Black men's experiences. What are some experiences or thoughts you have about law enforcement?
Coming from Trinidad and Tobago, you respect law enforcement no matter what. So I don't talk back to police officers. It's just not that they may be white or whatever, but it's just discipline from Trinidad and Tobago. We don't, because our police don't mess around. Right? If you all think they're tough here, no, they roll with AKs in Trinidad. But I remember being stopped in Berkeley, California. And I got taken out of my car, handcuffed. Never been handcuffed in my life, my entire life. I'm handcuffed. I'm on the side of the street, busy street, people passing, videotaping me. Then they sat me down. I asked them to loosen the handcuffs. They didn't want to. And the officers are so casual. Could we search your car? I was like, no, you can't search my car. Where you been? I said, why did you all stop me? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why am I here sitting down on the sidewalk with handcuffs? I said, this is demeaning. Oh, we'll let you know. They're going about doing their thing. They get my driver's license, they run it. Then the craziest thing happened.
What?
The night sergeant pulls up. He jumps out the car, blonde white dude. What the hell's going on here? Y'all ain't get nothing on him yet? Y'all didn't get anything on him yet? So I'm looking, I'm like, and as soon as he said that, you know what he asked?
What?
He said, what's your PFN number? Prisoner file number.
What?
I had known about it because I had a friend in law enforcement, so I hear them use the acronym.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking at this man. I was like, what did you say? He said, what's your PFN number? And out of my mouth, like clear as day came out, go and ask your wife and your kids if they have one. And the other officers started laughing. And he looked, and like when your boss catches you laughing at him, they go like, and he told them, he's like, find something. They looked, they searched my background, everything. So finally I asked them, I said, why did you all stop me? Your truck and you match the description of a domestic violence guy. I was like, really? They kept me on that sidewalk for about an hour.
Are you kidding me?
There's the most
I don't even know
humiliating.
why I still get I get shocked and I go, Robin, why are you still shocked? And it's like, because I'm still shocked.
It's the most humiliating experience I've had in the United States since I've been here. Like, yeah, that really, like, I mean, I sat down there, I was close to tears because I've never had any dealings with law enforcement, whether in Trinidad or here. So I don't know how to deal in a criminal like atmosphere that they created for me.
Yeah.
So I just sat there and I was like, this is the yuckiest, demeaning, most dehumanizing moment in my life.
How old were you?
32.
Wow. Just committed.
What's my PFN number?
That's a new one for me. And I'm really stunned by their commitment to having you be who they conjured up that you were. It's their commitment, and our unwilling to admit, to acknowledge.
I'm on so many home videos from that because people are just passing like that.
Thank you for sharing that experience. Every time I hear a story like that, it reminds me why it matters for me to have these conversations, because I know I've heard people who don't believe that it just happens without you having done anything. It's changing, but there still are some.
I actually followed up about what I could do about what they put me through.
Yeah.
And I called the Berkeley headquarters.
Yeah.
It was like, well, if you want, we could send you an apology letter. That's what they said. They said, if you want, we could send you an apology letter. I was like, no, it's fine. So.
Wow. Okay. Oh, we got another one on the line, Charlie. I don't know who was out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'll see if he wants the letter. Do you want the letter?
Oh, man. You have to laugh now. Yeah.
Oh, you do. Well, it's not my place to apologize for it, but I mean, it's just, like, I'm sorry you had that experience.
Yeah.
So that experience, plus I also hear your recognition of what's possible here. There's like so many feelings to have about our nation. If the United States was a woman, what would you say to her?
I'd say, honey, we don't need your sympathy. Black folks don't need your sympathy. We need equality. We need equity. We need justice. And we just need downright human fairness. That's what I would tell her. As direct as that, with little or any emotion. Because they like to profit from our emotion. And we lose the message when we use our emotion. So one thing as Black people, I'll implore people, stay level-headed, stay sharp, and have direct communication when you're dealing with her. Yeah.
That's all there is to say.
Yeah.
One more. I love it. I'm going to compile a lot of those answers to that specific question at some point and publish them. And I love some of the ones that are long, and I also really love some of the ones that are just very simple. And that one is just so clear. I don't need your sympathy. That's not what's going, that's not going to feed me. That's not going to give me an opportunity. That's not,
No.
I love it. Owen, what is a moment that exemplifies love to you? And I know there are like thousands or more that you could have, but what's one that really kind of, it spots like what love is?
I think love for me is sacrifice. Somebody willing to sacrifice for you. I saw my dad my dad do that for me. I remember we were going through a real tough time economically as a family because he had just built a house and we didn't have much fluid cash to deal with. So I was going to school with these shoes with holes in them. It was rainy season in Trinidad, so I put cardboard in them just to hold out the water from wetting my socks. I remember him coming home and he moved my shoes from the door and then he looked and he saw the cardboard inside. So he turned it over and he came to my bedroom and he knocked on the door and he was like, "Don't ever do that again." I was like, "What?" And he put up my shoe. He said, "I will not eat for you to wear a proper pair of shoes." He said, "I don't have to eat." He said, "I will go hungry, but you are going to wear a proper pair of shoes." And that taught me sacrifice. When people are willing to make a sacrifice for you, that is true love.
That's beautiful.
A lot of people dislike Colin Kaepernick, right? For what he did. But he put his livelihood on the line. Would you?
Yeah, he did.
You know what I mean? Would you? He made a sacrifice.
Yes,
However, he may have had millions already, yeah, but his projected earning, he put that in jeopardy.
Yeah. It's why we celebrate all the heroes we do, because they sacrifice, you know? So thank you. A beautiful story about your dad.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're at the beginning, and I think we might have talked about it before we actually started rolling, so to speak. You said your parents were married 50 years. Are they still alive?
So my dad died about 11 years ago. So they were married 50 years and then he died, yeah. Long time.
Yeah.
I never saw them not sleep in the same bed together.
Really?
In my existence, yeah. When I would travel home to see them when he was alive still, I would put my suitcase in the house. I'll open their bedroom door. They might be laying there or something. I would run and dive between them just like I was a kid. I did that in my 40s.
I love it.
I would just dive between them and they'll be like, "Boy, you just wouldn't grow up." I was like, "No, because I'm still your son. I can't grow up if I'm your son." Like,
and you mentioned being the youngest of three. You have two older sisters, so that's also the baby. But I'm still the baby.
They love me. My sisters love me like gold.
Yeah.
I go to their house. Sometimes I don't have to move. They feed me.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't play with their brother. They call me Nikki, by the way, so they don't mess with Nikki. They love him.
Why Nikki?
My middle name is Nicholas, and my mom coined that phrase.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
She's back home, and that's my girl. I love her to death.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you can't. So I record them on Zoom, so I do get to see, and at some point they go on YouTube, and who knows? They'll get there when they get there, y'all.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know, as he talks about his sisters and his mom, he's just beaming. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just like my cheeks hurt. You beaming so much, my cheeks hurt.
Yeah, that's my girl. I have a niece too. My older sister has a niece too, and yeah, I'll ride or die for her too. I don't play. Family means a lot to me. Like all my cousins in Trinidad would tell you, family means a lot. I go to bed a lot of nights dreaming of what I can achieve to help my family, all my family. That's kind of a thing that comforts me before I go to bed.
You're living sacrificing, because I can tell that you're doing what you need to do to make a difference there. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, the last question that I'm going to ask you is, what is something that you would share, and in specifically Black men, but really we're all listening and we all can use the same advice. So what could you share from your professional experience that would make a difference for someone?
Learn from your mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail at something, a business plan, some endeavor that you're trying to do. Don't be afraid to fail. And even if you don't like your job, be the best at it. Because what it does is it sends you home inspired. A lot of times we on a job, we don't like the job, and we let other people on the job poison us, because there's always people on the job you could find who doesn't like it. And we let them poison us too. But you have to remember that God, in my faith, he's preparing you for something else. And if you're not a good steward of what you have, why would you get more? And even if you don't believe in God, if you don't have ambition with the less, would you have with more? When I took over that studio at Stanford, and I came home after I got the position, I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? I only understand about 30% of the studio. And I had a boss at the time, director, really nice guy, Asian guy. And he took me under his wing and he started training me. But I would come home in the night and I would have the laptop and books and manuals on my chest and around me on the bed. And 4 a.m, I'll be reading and I'll get up at 8 and go to work. I would just be like taking in all this information, because I had to succeed. And it was on me.
Yes.
You know, so many times we like to blame other people. I don't care if you're at a job and they don't like you. Prepare yourself for your next job. I'll give you the story how I got to Stanford.
Tell me.
I'm going to San Francisco State, and we're working in the sports production class where we're recording basketball games and stuff. During the week, I'm going out and doing interviews with all the school teams. Now, I'm the old man on campus. I'm in my late 30s, right? I'm on campus recording wrestlers, doing interviews with them, so that when we beam a basketball game, we have little interview spots where when the game breaks, like halftime, we could show these interviews. I would get there, set up all the cameras, run the wires, everything. So Stanford needed somebody to do some videotaping for Coursera, the lady who started Coursera, Daphne Kohler.
Okay.
Right? She and Andrew Ng started Coursera. So he called the professor at State. He's like, hey, man, you got any rock stars at San Francisco State, man? Any students you have there that could just come and just hit the ground running and I don't have to do anything with them? He said, you know I was your best student. He said, well, I have one that's better than you. His name is Owen. I'll give him your number. That's how I started at Stanford, and I didn't even have an undergrad. My first year of permanent employment at Stanford, I was still working on my final 2 semesters of undergrad.
Wow. And they hired you.
Yes.
If you were a phrase, Owen, your phrase would be, do the work.
Get it done. Just get it done. You know?
Like, I hear it. It's like, just do the work. Do what there is to do. Do it well, do it right, do it with integrity, the way it was designed to be done.
You know where that goes back to?
Talk to me.
My dad's whistle.
I love it.
Yeah, honestly, that's why it went
I
back.
believe you.
It wasn't a good whistle either. And he was an excellent whistler. But he used a frequency that would distract me. He could really whistle. I mean, he used to whistle everything. Yeah. But he used a frequency that was annoying and an attention getter. And I used to, Scooby had to get turned off, Captain Caveman, turn that off, gotta go. I'm dating myself now, you know, Captain Caveman.
It's okay, we're the same age. I'm a few years older than you. As soon as you were talking about those Saturday cartoons, I was like, yep. I might even go back a little further than you because I was still doing the Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got some of that in. Yep, I did.
Yeah. So, Owen, now that we've had this conversation, what did you get for yourself out of participating in this conversation?
2 things. I couldn't make it without God in my life. And you need people along the way. You can never do it by yourself. Impossible. And God will just put people at certain points to just lift you up and take you further. But you have to be in tune to see, to listen, and you can't alienate anybody, any race, any gender, anyone can help you, even people younger than you. When I work at the television station, my boss was about 20 years younger than me. He looked at me one day, he said, "Could I just talk to you frank when you make mistakes or you mess up?" I said, "Sure." He said, "That highlight you cut last night was effing garbage, man. Don't ever do that again." You know? And today, we're like best friends.
Yeah.
Like, tall Irish guy. We're like best. That's my brother. I call him my brother. Right? So that's it. Those two things, people along the way and your faith. Whatever your faith is, I don't know. I know where my help come from, but those two things. Yeah.
I always, at the end of an interview, have an impression of the brother, and I do for you. And I said, if you were a sentence, it would be do the work, but really like who you are for me, like what you represent. I think that's a better way to say it is throughout this conversation, you have just example after example shown that you're committed to one race, the human race. And when you talk about how people are living in Cambodia and this and that, like to the way that your heart is concerned about that, some of the gems, the messages, so much of it was about relating to people as people, whether they're celebrities, whether they're of a different race, whether, you're an immigrant coming in and you don't understand the people that are there. And likewise, people who are here not understanding people coming in. It's just what I'm left with is that you're truly a stand for one race moving to the experience of being one humanity.
Yeah, I love people.
Very clear.
Flat out love people. You have to really do me wrong to get me twisted, but I love people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. There's nothing else to say. I will say this just for listeners. Hey, if you really enjoyed this, please leave a review. I mention it in the show notes, but it really makes a difference to help people find it. And more importantly, it lets me know what you did like. And if you got something you didn't like, you can tell me that too. Look, I'm going to be open like Owen. Okay. You can just tell me. But truly, I love any feedback. Follow us, subscribe, and do all that. And thank you, Owen.
Yeah, this experience was priceless. Yeah, this was good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, this was priceless. Yeah, you're doing good work.
I had a wonderful time.
Thank you for listening to 365 Brothers. Certainly hope you enjoyed the episode. I encourage you to subscribe. Please leave a review. I want to know what you think. Also, if you know someone who would be a fantastic guest for 365 Brothers, please direct them to our website, 365brothers.com. You'll also find all the episodes there, 365brothers.com. And your support is welcome. And remember, to listen is to love.